Sorry, we apologize. We had a glitch, but we're back. Our guest today is Tamam Waritu, who is a leadership trader and a public speaker. My name is Asli Gilgalo. This is Oromia Media Network. Thank you for staying with us. Tamam, you were talking about how Ethiopia suppresses 80% of its population and working with the small group that is left. So if you could continue from there.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so I was talking about how basically the reason to why we're so passionate about changing the mass rather than focusing on the elite is because we understand that to truly move that country forward economically and socially, we have to focus on the majority that has been sort of kind of pushed aside, right? And Oromo happened to be one of that group. You have the Sidamas, the Walaitas. You have so many sort of marginalized and oppressed groups. So I was giving the analogy of it's almost as like having a soccer team of which one side has players, and then the other side you deciding, okay, you know what, we're only going to play with 11 people, was 3 people. So what we're saying is no. Let's bring everyone else, and then let's also have 11 players, and that's how we can compete in global stage. So um, we actually care about that country, by the way. I think this is misconceptions that that kind of has been throwing at us, at Qeerroo. Qeerroo care about that country, and we know too, and we have the capability to get that country to the 21st level, to 21st century level. But you can't do that while you're jumping with 1 foot, and that's where we see. And that's why, although we are, we brag walking around saying that, we're the only, sub-Saharan African country that has never been colonized. In action, we're even who have been colonized. So that is embarrassing, right, for us. So, and instead of just, this false and artificial bragging, we actually wanted to show that was action. And to do that, what is a better way than to empower the vast majority that has been kind of left, aside and has been, suppressed in terms of, educationally and educationally, socially, and in terms of, economically, right? So we believe that, the best way we can move forward that country is to empower in those areas of the majority of the country.
So a lot of people in the country are saying, especially Oromos, are saying, Abiy has failed in his leadership. For one, this is a person who came to power on the backs of the Oromos. A lot of people sacrificed for him to be there. The protest 2015, 2016,
Absolutely.
2015, 2018, of course, that led to the downfall of the previous government and rise of Abiy to power. But now what we're witnessing is Abiy is imprisoning the same people that actually helped him get to power. So what does this explain?
Yes. Well, it's really sad, right? It's a sad reality of sort of, I hate to say this, but like African politics, right? Where we have, you see someone and you're like, oh my God, this person. If you really think about, all the dictators that you see today, somehow came as a reformist, right? And then they just kind of turn into, and many of them, by the way, are highly educated in Western countries, and all of a sudden they turn into something else. So the same thing happened with this guy, right? He came in, as you said, and the back of the young people who gave their soul, in their lives to bullet, literally empty-handed, standing like this in front of an army. And to bring this kind of slight change, and this guy hijacks that and goes back and tries to sell an idea that has already been rejected. Again, this false Ethiopianism, and the people wouldn't accept it. And it's sad that someone who people had so much hope on, turning his back on the very people that have put him there, right? Who are responsible for him to be in that position. So it's very sad. I'm very, very saddened because I was cautiously optimistic, but I was a little bit optimistic than ever before. But I think he let us down. He let the millions of people in that country down.
So when he came, he started the reforms, most people went back home. For instance, the people who left as kids, who left Oromia as kids and went with their parents abroad,
Yes.
came back as expatriates to build the country they never got a chance to grow in. But most of them, I'll just name a few, like my friends, we have Misha, who was oilman technician, Yusuf and Ridwan are now in prison. So as a young Oromo
Absolutely.
in the diaspora, what does this action tell you?
And it's very saddening and unfortunate that instead of encouraging the diaspora, the educated body of our country to go back and contribute and to do something, if you're going to put them in prison and if you make their life harder, then you discourage other diasporans to go back and try to help their people change that country. So he failed in that as well. I think and especially Ridwan and Yusuf and many other diasporans who went there, and they weren't even involved in politics. They were just there to they thought, at least they thought, as many millions of people thought, that change has come, that we will never go back to being, governed at a point of a gun, right? But unfortunately, they were proved wrong. That the guy has turned into his friends from the regime. So it's sad. It's very sad, and it's disheartening. And I hope, and we're doing everything that we can here in the diaspora to make sure that particularly those people who are citizens of the United States to be released. We're working day and night on that, and they will be released hopefully soon. But it's just day by day, what he's doing is just it's saddening. It's saddening to see this action from someone who was once praised and with someone that people had hope on at one time.
You talked about Jawar in your video, and Jawar is just among the people that went back home again to build the country. So what does
Absolutely.
Jawar represent to you?
That is a
And for
very good
Oromos?
question.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. For Oromos, Jawar is one guy who, to kind of put it simple, who has given his life, right? I mean, this guy is an Ivy League graduate in this country. He went to Stanford in Columbia, and he could have lived a great life like the rest of us, right? But he chose to stand by his people. He gave up his career, his life, his family, and while he was here, he was one of the instrumental people who have really overthrown the past regime, right? This guy was, they did everything they could to undermine him, to discredit him. There's so many campaign on him. Despite all that, he transcended everything, all the challenges, and you can literally say, freed the country, at least for a short amount of time, right? So when this guy should have been grateful for the contribution Jawar has done to that country, he went out with the other camp and start campaigning against him, right? You remember the incident that happened before that too, the attempt that was done on the guy, and by the way, I got to mention this real quick. Also, the media in that country, their way of reporting You can see the biasy of just constantly asking him, like, why did you even call the police, while the guard came into his house in the morning, while knowing the way in which this regime operates, the history of this regime. For people to question that and to kind of try to hold them, someone that wants the country to be distracted. No, if they only knew, actually, Jawar was the only glue that was keeping the country together. Jawar was the one guy that was responsible to, even for this guy, for Dr. Abiy to be in power for this long. He wouldn't have been in power for this long if it wasn't for Jawar. Jawar was the one that was calming the young people down, because although their questions was not answered, none of the Oromo questions has been answered, and the people have been. But Jawar was saying, you know what, guys, let's give these people benefit of a doubt. Let's give them more time. Let's see what they're going to do. Let's move towards election. Let's have a national dialogue. This is what the guy was calling for. But again, when you're blinded with, political ideology, sometimes it's very difficult for you to see even something that is beneficiary for you.
Thank you. So one of the highlights for me for all these reforms, or rather in all the process of the reforms, was the 2018 Erecha, a very magical event that brought together people from all corners of the world. And understanding that it happened after the other Erecha where people were massacred, this one was very, very beautiful, the 2018 one. So is there hope that there would be such event in Ethiopia?
No, absolutely, absolutely. The chaos that we see now is it's inevitable, right? We've known for a while the minute this guy started, taking a different exit, we've known this would happen. It was just a matter of time, right? So yes, this guy will be gone. It's just a matter of time. And I think, the country will come together. And I think Qeerroo will ensure that the country will come together. Because again, as I alluded to earlier, contrary to what, the other camp thinks, the Qeerroo actually, they're the protector of that country, believe it or not. Right, so they will not allow for that country to be distracted. Obviously, of course, they're not going to accept another form of dictator. It doesn't matter whether he spoke their language or whether he's one of them. It does not matter. I think that's a political maturity that many people don't understand, of the Qeerroos. Our struggle, as I said earlier, it's not about, someone being Oromo or not. If Jawar is to be prime minister today and Jawar moves towards, being a dictator, the very Qeerroo that you see today are going to be the one that will be standing against him. So I have, an enormous amount of hope from the Qeerroos and the Qarres and other young people in that country, that they will maintain the peace in that country. It's just that this guy has to go in. He has to go knowing that and being a lesson for anyone who comes after him, that leading through dictatorship and at gunpoint and trying to feed people an ideology that has expired will never work. So whoever comes next will understand that, and will never take advantage of and take for granted these young people who are awake and who really want to see their country in a completely different way.
So the chaos is rooted really deep, and you just said, it will take time for this to go away. So as Tamam, how do you think we can get out of this mess?
That is a very good question. That's what we call here in America. It's $1 million question, right? I wish I have, a simple, some magical, compelling answer for that question. But I think at the minimum, what this guy can do is to bring together right now as emergency people like Obolama, Obodagu, people who possess and other people who possess a political maturity, and just step aside and let them bring people together and let them bring people back to how the early reform was, and lead people towards what they really want, which is a true democracy and a freedom for all and equality, a playing field in that country where everyone can be successful. If he can do that, at least if he can do that, then I think he has done a favor for the country, at least. But if he chooses to continue on this road, then it's going to end very badly. It's going to end very badly. And also, obviously, of course, the second thing that he needs to do is release the political prisoners, every one of them, including, by the way, Iskandar Nagga. Release Iskandar Nagga, right? Unlike the other camp, we don't believe in, having, one side, it's I have to share this with you real quick. I was watching, the protest that took place in Washington, D.C. A couple of days ago. And I was watching, how the almost, had a protest there for the people who are arrested, who are imprisoned, and really in a very, appalling condition right now, with COVID-19 and everything. So, and then you have the other camp that, the counter protest. And I'm just listening to, they were shouting, and this is not to make fun of them, but I have to say it. They were saying, good job for arresting Jawar, Bakale Garba, and all the thousands of Oromos, but Dr. Abiy, no good job for arresting, Iskandar Nagga. Please release Iskandar Nagga. And I'm just watching them. I'm just like really, right? It's almost like these groups are struggling with with what the social scientists refer to as a cognitive dissonance, right? So I think what people need to understand is we, the Qeerroos, both back home and in the diaspora, and I hope I don't come off as arrogant when I say this, but we're advanced politically, socially, in so many ways. So I don't think you can find one Oromo person who will say, hey, release Jawar Mohammed and Bakala Garba and all the thousands of Oromos, and then leave Iskandar Nagga there. No one will say that. I mean, this is a guy, by the way, we're opposite, right? With Iskandar Nagga. Our ideology is opposite, his way of thinking. I mean, he even this is a guy who labeled the Qeerroos, think about it, the whole young people in the country as a terrorist organization. He was campaigning to label Qeerroo as a terrorist organization. It's not even an organization in the first place. Qeerroo is just young people who are frustrated with crap, all right? Despite that, despite him, and he had, he'd always, he portrayed, Qeerroos as this dangerous, people who are coming to, do something, harm to him. Every time he has a meeting, public meeting, he's always like, oh, Qeerroos, matu, Qeerroo, always. Despite all that, we don't want him to be arrested because we want him to have his ideology. Although we don't agree with it, although we think it's backwarded, it's barbaric, we still think for him to advocate for that. And that is what true democracy is, right? When you have two opposing ideas and you can discuss and debate in a manner, right? So we're gone. We're way gone. And we just, the rest of the country really need to catch up, particularly kind of the older generation of that really need to catch up so that we can move this country to the next level. We're frustrated when you hear things like that, people advocating for one person, and praising this dictator to, keep, all the Oromos, and then on one side saying, release this person. It's sad, and it almost kind of discourages you, to be honest, and makes you say, is this really the people that we're trying to build the country with? right? But I hope at least the young people from that side are, have a different perspective, particularly those who reside in the diaspora, and that we can have some civil conversation with them. Because I'll be honest with you, I think it's a virtually impossible to be logical and to have any sort of dialogue with people who kind of think this way. So I am optimistic. I am hopeful that we will have some good discussion and come to some common denominator with those diasporas in this country and abroad.
Thank you so much, Tamam. I'm glad you came on today because we get to hear the voice of a regular Ethiopian, a regular Oromo guy who's not a politician, and just give us the perspective
Absolutely.
of the Qeerroo on the current situations in the country. But my last question
Yeah.
is, not the question, or rather the last chance I'm giving you to address Ethiopians and Oromos wherever they are. What message do you have for Oromos back home in the diaspora and Ethiopians in general?
Absolutely, that's a very good question. But first of all, before I address that question,
Yeah.
I know, a lot of people now are going to say, "Oh, look at this dude. He's, a lot." By the way,
Mm.
this it's a misconception that I was born in this country and educated in this country. No, no, actually, absolutely not. I was born back home. I was born in a very tiny village, in a typical huts, and I spent almost half of my life there. I grew up there in Oromia, almost like until I was 16 years old.
Okay.
So I came to the United States at the age of 16, and I started ninth grade here, and I learned English for the first time here, by the way. And so when I speak, I'm not speaking from from some
Privileged guy
based
who
on
is.
some theoretical framework that I've read somewhere.
Uh-huh.
No, I'm speaking from my experience as an Oromo, in the experience which I had some of the challenges that I had to deal with, of my identity as an Oromo, of how when growing up, how we were being ashamed of even our name, being ashamed
Mhm.
of speaking our language. Today, I speak Oromo and in Oromifa and in English. Back home, I spend the vast majority of my time just trying to perfect Amharic, right? To sound cool, because people will make fun of you if you had a little bit of accent with Amharic. Today, um, I don't really care for it, right? Because it's not like I have anything against the language. It is just a language, right? I don't see it as, being superior than that of other languages. It's just one of the languages that we have in that country. And so, me not speaking that language does not make me less of a citizen of that country. Make that less of my country, right?
Mhm.
So it's from experience, and this is what you see also across the board for Oromos, because as I say, the majority are in the rural areas, and have sort of been marginalized and being seen as a second class citizen. So uh, thankfully, I'm different today, but I operate from my experience, because we, at the end of the day, as human beings, we are a product of our upbringing, of our childhood experiences. So I just had to put that out there, that I am not born in the West and then being brainwashed. You comments now, being brainwashed by my parents.
Mhm.
No, no, this is my experience. And when I go back home, I want to go back into a country that changed, that where I continue to be proud of my identity, my language, my culture, and enjoying the Ethiopia as it is, right? Or rather than assimilate. That's what we don't want, right? That's the majority of all Oromos don't want, and the majority of Ethiopians don't want, right? This fake, as I say, Ethiopianism, that, oh, kind of like what you see here in America, like, the Republican Party, right? They preach about, diversity, but when you see the crowd, you know what you're looking at, right? So We don't want that, especially the educated mind cannot take that, right? So, I'm very optimistic about the future. And to get back to your question, um, my advice, for my brothers and sisters back home, Qeerroo, and other, particularly the young people from the marginalized groups, uh, change is coming. The real change is coming. It has come and it was hijacked, and I think we are, as a country, I am optimistic. I am hopeful that we will get back on the road of true democracy and true freedom. So I encourage them to continue to oppose this dictatorial action of this man, and to really to refrain from, I've stated this already, on my interview in Afan Oromo on AMN. I condone all sort of violence. Okay, I do not care who does it, whether it's the government, whether it's individual, and the damaging of property. Not just do I condone it, I condemn it. I don't believe in it. And I don't believe that it will be a solution to the problem that we're trying to solve. But in a peaceful way. I don't also believe in somehow buying gun and fighting the government. That only adds more chaos. What I believe in is something that has already worked, right? Which is the peacefully rejecting government that's trying to oppress you. So continue to voice your concern, continue to protest. Just make sure that this guy is no longer in power, so that way we can come together and start it in the right way, which is getting to the root of the cause and of the problem for that country, and move forward, and find a way by which we can govern that country together, where everyone has, in a regional level, has their own autonomy, their own freedom, have the ability to elect whomever they want to, and really, because it by the way, it boggles my mind how a few politicians believe in that they know better than the people who is good for them. So that's why you see, the government always, in the central, tries to undermine the regional government, right? And have people whom they choose, and then they place them in power. The people who the people don't want. That's one of the other problems that I think Dr. Abiy, the almost the costly action that he took, which is took Lamma Magarsa from a place as a president of Oromia, a man who were loved and admired and celebrated by so many people, and then placed another dude, who is who basically the yes sir guy, right? Who listens to him, everything he says. So people are not dumb, they see these things. They're frustrated with this. They're saying, look, man, I want to. I want to choose whoever I want to, who I believe serves me. This goes, by the way, not just for the, for Oromia region. This goes for the Amhara region, the Tigray region. In every region, let the people voice. Don't underestimate your people, right? They know, they're smart than you give them credit for. Just because you went to some, secular, you got some secular education, don't think you are better than those people. They know what's good for them. So hopefully we will come to a time where the people that you look down upon will be able to choose someone whom they love, and be able to send that person to the central where that person can represent them. And I'm very optimistic. So my advice again is just move forward. We are with you. Those of us who are in the diaspora, we're not sleeping. We're working day and night. So just continue, and please continue the caring of your neighbors. It doesn't matter who they are, where they come from, because don't get your frustration. While I understand the frustration, I think it is unjust to get your frustration on just some poor person, and damaging property or taking lives. And again, I am very outspoken about that. I don't care if it is my brother that is committing that. I am so again, just as long as you've reined yourself from that, I encourage you to continue to move forward, and we will have a country where we all we may not have to agree with one another, but where we can agree to disagree, yet grow that country equally, where everyone can contribute, where 100% of the population can contribute, and I have no doubt that we can turn that country into the next United States or China, because look at China, look at Middle Eastern countries, Qatar and Dubai. These countries grew within 1 or 2 decades. So there is no reason to why we cannot do that. But you can't attempt to just grow economically while neglecting the core problem that is eating your country, right? You have to solve that first before you think bigger about the economy and everything. And you cannot suppress by just saying, hey, stop talking about your pain. It's like, just to leave it with this, I will give you an analogy, okay? It's like an analogy of let's say there are 5 people sitting on a couch and watching television, right? And then one person who is sitting at the edge is telling you, hey guys, I know we're enjoying the TV, but I'm almost falling down. Can you guys like scoot over just a little bit so I can also sit comfortably? And you saying to that person, you're bothering us, man. We're trying to watch TV here. Don't bother us. And then the person say, hey, I'm falling down. And you continue. That is what is happening in our country today. I think we're ignoring and neglecting the pain and the cry of the majority of people here, trying to move forward and trying to, the person who's complaining, we're labeling them a complainer rather than really focusing on the very issue, right? And another thing also that I was disappointed when I heard Dr. Abiy gave a statement. He's trying to scapegoat Egypt about the internal chaos that is happening. And I think that's a wrong move, right? And that has been happening with everyone else. I mean, that's kind of, a characteristics of dictators, right? You see that all the time. Gaddafi, when the people were rising, he was saying, voting the external forces and the Western and blaming others. That's the easiest thing to do, right? I know a friend of mine told me a story once about a man. I'll finish it on this story about a man who was passing by, a passerby, right? He was passing by and he saw another man who was on his knee looking for something. So this guy stood and asked, what are you looking for? And the guy who was looking for the thing, he said to him, oh, I lost my key. And the passerby said to him, oh, where did you lose it? And the guy said, oh, I lost it over there. And the passerby was confused and asked, so if you lost your key over there, why are you looking for it over here? And the guy answered, oh, because there is light over here. That's why I'm looking for my key over here. That's exactly what is happening back home, right? Although we know the issue, the easiest thing for us to do is to blame on other people, to blame on the very people who are complaining rather than focusing on the issue which they're complaining about, right? So if we truly wanted to move forward as a country, as people, then we have to acknowledge the pain, the historical grievances, and try to solve that first before you move on. That's what you think. That's what, South Africa did that. What's the African country that out of the civil war, Uganda, right? Did
Rwanda.
that, right? They had, Rwanda, yes,
Yeah.
Rwanda. They had the national reconciliation until they sort of solved that problem before they moved on to something else. So it's Ethiopia today is like volcano, right? So many things are boiling, and we're just neglecting and just ignoring that and talking about other things. And when people complain, we're telling them, oh, you're being the ranya, you're being this, you're being that. That's the easiest thing to do. It's easiest to do is to blame people and say, hey, you're just a tabab, zaranya. These are the type of things that's used, right, to describe people who are saying, hey, I don't feel represented here. I'm kind of falling down from the couch. Can you scoot over a little bit, please? So unless we solve that, unless we go to that uncomfortable place and solve this, I don't see any other way out for our country.
Beautifully put. Thank you so much for joining us today, Tamam.
Thank you so much, Asli. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be on your show. I'm a big fan. Please continue your work, and hopefully see you another time.
I'm humbled. Thank you so much.
All right, Asli Tina, nagarra nujrad, yeah?
Nagan Jarad.
Jabat.
Hayya
nagat.
That was Tamam Waritu. He is in Portland, Oregon, a public speaker and leadership trainer. That's my time. This is Oromo Media Network. Thank you for staying with us, and great appreciation to my technical team, of course. See you tomorrow, same place, same time. Do have a lovely day and lovely night.